Hello everyone, and welcome to another Let's Play of The Royal Trap by Hanako Games. My name is Anna Mardal. We are going through the Nazagi playthrough, and today we're going to do Chapter 6. And I'm very pleased to report that I checked and Chapter 5 does indeed have music, which you probably all know by now if you've seen that one. I've been having a little bit of trouble with my sound. So when we last left Chapter 5, Prince Nazagi had come to visit Madeline in the dungeon. She had not felt safe talking to him there, being concerned that someone might overhear. She had suggested that he go talk to Princess Cassidy, only to find that she was under guard and not accepting visitors. She'd asked him to go talk to Prince Caleb, only to find that he had a valet that is Dolores, and neither Madeline nor Nazagi trust her, with good reason. So Nazagi decided to cut through the chase, poison Madeline into seeming very violently ill, offer his services as a physician or pharmacist, as they're calling him. His valet was put in the prison in her place as a promise of good behavior and not trying to escape. Madeline is now in Prince Nazagi's rooms under a guard, but where they can speak privately. She brought him up to speed on everything that had happened in chapters 1 through 4. And then he said, you know, excellent, great, I'm done with you. And she said, hey, I'm the only ally you have since your valet is in the prison. I'm going to throw in my chips with yours. So we have a new master now. And we're going to load chapter 6C, the web. Which, sorry, mouse wheel kind of went wild on me there. I'm with you, my lord. Good. Rest of it. When you think your stomach can handle it, I will summon a light meal. And then, my dear, we will scheme. Chapter 6C, there we go, the web. Prince Nazagi's idea of a light meal turns out to involve even less flavor than the rations I received in the dungeon. Nothing but gruel, dry bread, and weak tea. Considering the tender condition of my stomach, that may be for the best. I have been fed and watered and rested, probably bathed as well while I was still unconscious. Few would expect a prince to be a competent sick nurse, particularly a prince with such a sinister reputation. And yet, the two aspects are not unrelated. Wow, okay, so Madeline a little blasé about having been bathed by a guy she doesn't know, but okay, that's her right. You look uncomfortable. Are the pains still bothering you? I'm trying not to wonder if you've added anything to my food this time. Of course I have. What? Nothing harmful, my dear. You are still suffering the side effects. The powders I've added will soothe you. He may be telling the truth. There's nothing to say that all potions must be harmful. The reason that no one trusts a pharmacist is that there's simply no way to know. This bothers you, doesn't it? Do you always drug your servants? Only when it's useful. He picks up a small string of colored wooden beads and begins to idly spin them about his slender fingers. Many skills, which are unknown here, are common in Azeneth. I am sure your homeland has its specialities as well. Everyone in Azeneth learns to mix potions? Not everyone, only those who have studied with a master. We respect the search for knowledge. We're very respectful of the knowledge. That's why everyone's afraid of it. Okay, I'm going to pause here and just say that I hope there is a forthcoming conversation about how it's not just a matter of whether the stuff he's adding is helpful or harmful, it's about consent. A good doctor, I would argue the bare minimum of decency for a doctor is to attain consent before treating someone, as much as is ever possible. So it doesn't matter if the stuff he's giving is super helpful, he still needs to ask her if that's alright with her. A mix of toxins can bring about a painful death, that is true. But is that so different from what any common woman or man can do with a knife in hand? I can see a knife and defend myself against it. Can you defend yourself against an arrow or a bullet? A sniper's shot can only do harm. With the right herbs, a master can heal. Some things, at least. Not all. Well, you do seem to know what you're doing. Strange as his ways may be, they have worked so far. I finish my meal, conscious of his scrutiny, and sit up straight in my chair. So, how can I help you? You said you'd thought of something. Yes, a most interesting possibility. Tell me, with your eyes, is there any resemblance between Princess Cassidy and the former page Dolores? Resemblance? I'm not sure. Not really. Their faces are very different. And of course, I've never seen Dolores look happy, and I've never seen Cassidy scowl. That's part of the difference. So in the details, they are very different. With my vision, the details are harder to see. To my eye, they are both young women of a similar age, with similar build and coloring. It is largely hair and clothing that sets them so far apart. I try to imagine Dolores in a velvet gown, with her hair long and well tended. She might look a great deal better. Petulance could become haughtiness, attitude merely spirit. Still, the first thing anyone notices about Cassidy is her sweet nature. Dolores has nothing of the sort. You think she's being trained as a double? I doubt anyone would be fooled. Not exactly. He extends his left hand, palm up, as if holding or weighing an object. Miss Orethe, as they call her, must be of some significance for the king to go to such lengths to protect her. Then his right hand, also palm up, supporting the small string of beads. There are persistent rumors among the lower classes of Guelinor that our Princess Cassidy is an impostor. He brings his two hands together and claps them into fists. Do you see? Are you suggesting that Dolores is the real Princess Cassidy? What better reason for the crown of Guelinor to keep her close and safe? But why? Why would they turn their own heir out onto the street and raise an impostor in her place? Are you familiar with the fate of Caspian, the youngest prince of Guelinor? He died of illness as a child. Unfortunately for poor Callum's hopes, that does appear to be the case. Imagine, if you will, that you are the ruler of a powerful nation. You have just lost a son, a tragedy even for one of many. But worse, now your only heir shows symptoms of that same disease. The stability of the kingdom depends upon her health, especially if the wisdom was unlikely to produce more children. So you conceive a plan to protect your line of succession, to avoid any risk of disaster. You exchange your princess for a healthy pauper's child. One infant is more or less like another, are they not? They could have had their pick. A girl of the right age, whose hair and eyes favored the royal line, and the crisis would be resolved. I have no experience with infants myself, but I find it slightly hard to imagine them being so casually traded. Still, a poor family, a royal command, a mixture of bribes and threats for silence. It is far-fetched, but not impossible. So you're suggesting the true princess was given away because she was sickly. There are other possibilities. A threat at home might have encouraged the wisdom to raise her heir in secret, for example. Perhaps the plans went wrong. Perhaps she was lost and found. Perhaps she was meant to die and then recovered. But what if, for whatever reason, the Blood Princess was sent away and later discovered in an orphanage? The king in wisdom could not acknowledge her, especially not with Dolores' rough edges. But they could invent an excuse to bring her to the palace and give her a position. Then when things went wrong, they would not execute their own child, so instead they promoted her to higher status. Could such a story really be true? So we've got a choice. That explains everything, or it's too unbelievable. I don't know which one is the right one. The normal ending, which we're not going for, has us reply with it's too unbelievable, but the good and bad endings don't mention this choice. So I may just cut a save here just to be sure. 6C, we'll call this one. And wow, it's so weird for me to get a choice that I get to pick. Well, hold on, I have to pause. Someone's calling. Okay, I'm back. I'm so sorry about that. It seems like every single time I sit down to record a Let's Play, a doctor's office or someone calls. We were trying to decide whether to say that explains everything or it's too unbelievable. I succumbed to curiosity and tried both options, and similar to some of the other choices we've seen, they both end up in the same place. This explains everything has Malin being very enthusiastic and Nazagi pleased with her enthusiasm. It's too unbelievable has him basically going, well, you're my servant, not my friend, so I don't care about your opinion. Not quite that bad, but we'll go with this explains everything. He likes enthusiasm, it seems. Except that we know that this theory is wrong, so... But oh well. Strange as it sounds, it makes a certain degree of sense. King Prydric could never have pulled off such a switch without flaws, and there are flaws. Those rumors of an imposter that would never quite die down, rumors strong enough to breed fanatics. Come to think of it, it was Dolores who first told me about that, and that she'd love to see a noblewoman exposed as a cuckoo. Do you think she suspects? Perhaps. It's still only supposition, but it does tie together. It could explain why Cassidy was kept in such close seclusion all her life if they were afraid of close scrutiny, and the way they treated Caleb. They would want to avoid anyone seeing the siblings together. But if this is the true explanation, how does it benefit you? If this theory is correct, there is a chance that Dolores will be restored to a more honored position, particularly as current events have shown the flaw in keeping her nearby while ignorant and resentful. Resentful seems like an accurate description. Dolores refused to explain to me why she chose to betray the masters that employed her. If she were aware, if she even suspected that so much more should be hers, she might have a good reason to hate them. If she were, through some course of events, to become the acknowledged heir, there is much advantage to be gained in being the first eligible suitor to befriend her. Certainly no other prince could currently expect that girl to become a king's wisdom. Nazagi could steal a march on the competition. And if they don't intend to acknowledge her, they haven't so far, and she's far from polished. If King Prydric wishes that girl's origin to remain a secret, then he may be willing to make compromises. Of course, any such negotiation could not take place unless I were certain of the truth. In either case, I wish to make contact with Miss Arethe and attempt to learn more. Prince Nazagi places the string of beads upon the table's surface and looks at me. Even with the spectacles to soften his face, his direct gaze is disconcerting. It is obvious that secrets are being hidden, and that someone hopes very much to keep them that way. As for you, you might have been killed out of hand, or locked away so securely that no visitor could reach you. But that act in itself would draw suspicion, make it too clear that you knew an inconvenient truth. Instead, the Crown has chosen to take the risk of pretending you are an ordinary prisoner. It is likely that they did not believe you to know the entire story. Only clues which would require the right mind to be able to piece them together. Modesty is not one of his weaknesses. Yeah, we noticed this on... I'm not dissing Prince Nazagi. I know that many of you are very fond of him, and he is a sweet boy. But we did notice in one of the first chapters when he speaks, and he actually praises this incredibly convoluted plan whereby Oscar makes himself seem suspicious so that no one will be suspicious, because that would be suspicious in of itself. And it was like, no, baby, no, that's actually not smart at all. That's the exact opposite of smart. And it's kind of like that here, that they could have done this, but you know, in building these reams and reams of logic, and I want so very badly to introduce him to the concept of Occam's razor, where a simpler explanation is probably more likely to be truth. But I do appreciate that he's obviously put more thought into this than, say, Oscar. No offense, Oscar. However, the tripwire remains in place. Under ordinary circumstances, I would send Yorick to meet this girl, but his help is denied me, and I myself may not be allowed to leave this room. So, if you are to be my assistant, how do you suggest I arrange a meeting with Dolores Arefe? I blink a few times. It's not enough that I've given up my secrets to him, or that I'm barely out of the sick bed that his poisons put me in. Apparently, I'm expected to prove myself again. Well, all right then. Let's see what we can do. You said she's been assigned as Caelim's valet. That can't be a comfortable pairing for either of them. Unless she truly is his sister, and he's actually been told that, he must be eager to get rid of her. You, on the other hand, are without your usual aid, and you have a patient to look after. See if you can send a request to Caelim to borrow his new servant. Interesting. I do believe that is a positive response. Yes, that could work, assuming that our watchdogs will allow me to send such a message. An unfolded note, plain for anyone to read, might appear less suspicious, but the phrasing... A sudden knock on the door disrupts our attempt at scheming. Inspection! Bedroom, now. Those deceptively strong hands seize my arms, tugging me along in haste. Nazagi half shoves me onto the bed, with a painful pressure on the back of my neck. No time to argue. I crawl under the sheets and arrange myself like a good little invalid. I hear the rapid opening and closing of doors, and then Nazagi leaves to answer that knock. Someone is speaking outside, but I can't make out the words. My heartbeat is pounding too loudly inside my ears. Am I supposed to pretend that I've been in bed all this time? That won't be easy while I'm still breathing hard. The irony is, I suspect it's exactly because I'm still not quite well that I am finding it so difficult to calm down. Think of windows and stillness. Heavy feet enter the room. As you can see, she has regained some of her senses, but remains too weak to be moved. You, prisoner, what do you have to say for yourself? That's not my potential friend Lambert speaking. I'm not sure what he expects me to say. What? That wasn't intentional. My throat has suddenly clogged up. I cough and blink a few times, trying to shake through the sensation that I'm breathing through mud. Nazagi's hand pushes down on my shoulder, preventing me from trying to rise. As you can see, she is not yet able to speak. She is quite ill. Very well. On behalf of the Crown of Gwelinor, I thank you for your service. Please inform the guards if you need anything else. Actually, there is something that I require. Having this criminal under my care creates a great deal of disturbance, especially when I have been deprived of the attentions of my personal assistant. And the maids seem very neglectful. I haven't seen one in days. I require fresh blood. Blood, sir? Yes, someone new, a hall boy, even a guardsman would do. I'm not certain. My duties do not permit. Of course. Take a message to Prince Calum, then. Ask him if he has any servants that he can spare. That is the last I hear, as Prince Nazagi guides his discomfited visitor away from my sickbed. Free from scrutiny, I continue to hack and cough. What is wrong with me? What happened to my voice? Am I going to choke to death? When Nazagi returns, alone, I slap the mattress to get his attention and claw at my throat. One moment. He retrieves his spectacles from the dresser drawer. It is in your interests that I see clearly for this. He steps closer, and with one fluid movement, reaches his hands around my neck. Unyielding fingers press a point behind my head, and I can feel something shift. There now. Breathe slowly and drink more water. I'll be in the main room. Without further comment, he releases me and withdraws. I draw a deep breath and test my voice again. Slimy, arrogant. And then I let the rest of my breath go. There's no sense in wasting it. Warily, I return to the front chamber. Let me know if you experience any soreness or swelling. I suppose it's nice of him to monitor my well-being, but his tone is not at all concerned either. I'm fine. Good. Your suggestion about maid service seems promising. With any luck, Prince Calum will play into my hands. Is there some custom in Gwelinor that makes room cleaning unusually repellent to soldiers? I didn't expect the guard to volunteer, but he seemed oddly desperate to reflect my request. You didn't see? He was afraid. Afraid of what? I believe he may think you are a vampire. What? You are unnaturally pale by local standards, my lord, and you did mention fresh blood. It is a common saying. I thought you did it on purpose to scare him into obeying you. Yes, of course that was my plan. No, it wasn't. Yorick usually handles these interactions. Your valet. I met him briefly at the upper servants' dinner on our first night. He was quite loud and jolly. He does enjoy his wine. Our usual working arrangements include him going out and speaking with people. He brings back their words, and I interpret them. He has a talent for ingratiating himself with strangers. He's friendly. Idle chatter and a smile is not friendship. No, but it helps. It is difficult to imagine Nazagi making friendly conversation with kitchen staff to learn the latest tidbits. Considering his general demeanor, they would probably run in terror if he tried. Of course, he is the prince. Such back-alley snooping is beneath his dignity. That's why he has agents. Unfortunately, at the moment, agents means only me. So, if Calum does send Dolores here, what is your plan? I thought you would handle that. You said you wanted to befriend her. Yes, but Yorick usually handled the talking to people. In an informal situation, yes. Well then, I will simply need to treat this as a formal situation and show her every courtesy. That will probably throw her off her guard, at least. She's not very courteous, which means I should prepare myself. He leaves the room and returns a moment later without his spectacles. We need to agree on certain signals. I am not able to see every detail. In the moment, I may miss nuances. If I am treading down a wrong track, and you think I should steer away, pick up your glass and set it down again. I will hear the sound. If he can't see someone's facial expressions well, he can't tell when he's making them uncomfortable. For all his clever plans, he is helpless in the face of normal human interaction. Wait, am I supposed to be out here? Aren't I supposed to be in bed and unable to speak? Even if my guess turns out to be wrong, Miss Orefe is already aware that there are webs being spun. She knows who you are and what you have and haven't done. We will work from there. I suppose that's that. Oh, hello. Pressed the wrong key. Time passes, and there is no sign of any visitor, maid or otherwise. Maybe she isn't coming. Maybe Kayla won't send her. You have no patience. These past few days in the dungeon, I have over-exercised my patience. What would you normally do while waiting? Yorick sometimes amuses me with stories. He reads to you? No. He tells me of people he's met, and their encounters and mishaps, romances, escaped wild stock, things of no importance. So, funny gossip, I suppose. Oh, we get another choice! The snake fell on Prince Caleb. Dolores was telling me about the guests. I saw a man with a goose. I don't know any funny stories. The Royal Trap Wikia, which I'm using for the ending, says that we should say Dolores was telling me about the guest. Dolores told me there were a pair of gentlemen planning a fight because they were wearing the same outfits to the ball. And did they? Did they what? Have a fight? I don't know. She didn't say. That's not very entertaining, is it? She also said there was a young woman plotting to make a big scene at the ball and expose Cassidy as an imposter, so her parents sent her home in disgrace. A noble? By what name? That could be important. I don't know. She didn't say. I suppose you'll have to ask her. That didn't turn out to be very entertaining either. I'm sorry. I suppose jovial anecdotes aren't among my best skills. You are a very different sort than Yorick, that is true. Perhaps a game, a challenge of wits. All right, what did you have in mind? I happen to have a fine Paraxi set? Paraxi is a game which is not entirely based on either luck or strategy, but a mix of both. With a roll of the dice, colored pawns emerge from their nest to circle the board before escaping to the scoring zone in the center. Along the way, they may create jams to block the other player's progress, or eat the other player's pawns to send them back to their own nest. Even without his spectacles, Nazagi seems to have little difficulty following the game. I do notice him occasionally picking up his cast dice to inspect them more closely, but he never mistakes my pieces on the board for his own, or one square for another. The question does occur to me, is he a man who would be more pleased by winning, or by competing with a skilled opponent? In a game like this, however, the point is mostly moot. You can't subtly throw the outcome when you still have to throw the dice. No matter what you plan, the game will progress as it chooses. There might be a metaphor there, but in most situations the game of politics runs more smoothly. Knowledge is the key to control, and here in Quellenor there was simply too much I did not know. After some time spent over the game board, there comes again a knock on the door. This is not the authoritative hammer of a guard demanding entrance, but a few light taps with enough time passing between them to make the entire affair sound desultory. At a guess, that would be Dolores. Please, come in. A familiar face enters the room. I heard you needed your rooms, As soon as she catches sight of me, she flinches away. You must be Miss Arefe. It is a pleasure to meet you. A pleasure? Of course. You are a very special young woman. Miss Valois has told me a great deal about you. Oui, I'll bet. So, was this your plan from the beginning? Just so you could change masters? What are you talking about? You tell me, lady. What's your scheme? Please, Miss Arefe, don't call me that. What would you prefer? My name is Dolores. Dolores, a lovely name. If you say so. Please, feel free to call me Nazagi. Okay. Look, what's going on here? Did you want me to clean your room or not? I think that's rather a waste of your talents, don't you? Circumstances have forced you into a number of roles throughout your life, none of which have truly suited you. You are a clever and ambitious young woman, capable of planning and seizing advantages when you see them. That is a wisdom which deserves recognition. Oui. What do you want? So far, it doesn't seem that Nazagi's honeyed words are achieving the desired effect. Have I mentioned how much I love Dolores? Because I do. What he's saying is you're a lot smarter than you let on, and the king hasn't treated you like he should. So what? So, he would like to help you. The Lord of Silks wants to help me. Please. Your problem, lady, is that you think you're the clever one. She does have that weakness. What, and you don't? Surely you can see how it benefits us all to make clever friends, particularly when trying to unwind such a tangled web. What do you want? I want to discover the truth. It may be of great value to both of us. Both of us, huh? What about her? She is of limited importance. Oh, thank you very much. By this time, though, I have become used to Nazagi choosing an angle to play without informing me. I show no reaction. It was her information that brought me to you. It is your information that I am most eager to discover. You are, huh? So what do you want to know? Many things, but a good starting place would be your version of recent events, such as how you came to find yourself in direct service to Prince Galem. Her eyes flicked to me. Look, I don't know how she got here or what she's told you, but I've got no plans to take her place down there. He waves a hand dismissively. If it helps, I have no interest in whether you did or did not participate in the kidnapping of Princess Cassidy. I give you my oath, on my honor, that I have no intention of implicating you in that affair. I am curious about what happened after your party returned to the palace. I know I blamed you for me being arrested, but I really can't see how you could have done it. You didn't have time. All I can guess is that there's a lot more going on than I know about. That's true enough. Say I take it for truth that you're not trying to shop me. If I tell you what I know, what's there for me? What would you like? I don't ask that lightly. Not for this simple moment, but for the future. What do you want for yourself? Are you content now that you have been raised to the rank of valet? Ha! What do I want? I want to never see a castle or a noble again for the rest of my life. I want a house of my own, a farm maybe, where I can grow my own food and live for myself. Nothing more? You've never dreamed of yourself as something greater? What do you mean? Whether she's a lost princess or not, if she has no idea about the matter, it's dangerous to put that thought into her head. She is ambitious and smarter than she looks. If she guesses Nazagi's purpose, she might feed him lies. I lift my glass and set it down again. I want to know how best to reward you, that's all. Perhaps I could aid you in seeking a rural assignment. Could be. Tell me then, Dolores, what took place when you returned to the castle? How did you receive word of your new rank? Well, first I knew anything was when the guards came for Lady Sneak. I thought it was a mistake, like she said. Thought the best I could do was slip away when their backs were turned. But before I could act, they were marching me off to see the king. He gave me a speech, where I half couldn't tell if he were senile or what. Called it a reward, this new job. No more fetch and carry. All I have to do is keep an eye on the bad seed's son. That was it. No mention if he knew what really happened. Except, at the same time, it sounded like he was saying more than he was saying, you know? Like you like to do, Lord Silk. I did say you could use my name. Ah, oui, Nazagi, right. She's blushing. Is she just feeling awkward? Or could it be that she finds Prince Nazagi attractive? Whatever the case, he can't see it. It sounded like, underneath, he was warning me that I'd better keep my head down and my nose clean. But he wouldn't come out and say what, or why, or how. If I could tell, if I knew that a mistake meant I'd lose this position, I'd tell him what he could do with his son and his offers. A solid roof isn't worth this mess anymore. I want out. But I want out with my head on my shoulders, you know? Not risking it. Of course, you seek your best outcome. Anyone would who had the mind for it. Right. So, are you going to help me? I would like to help you. Talent should never be wasted. But if that is all you know, there are still many questions to be answered. Why did King Friedrich himself choose to give you both a reward and a warning for involvement in such questionable activity? I told you, I don't know. Ah, but if I were you, I would be quite curious to find that out. I can't imagine you feel otherwise. Could be. As it happens, you have another source of information available to you. Your new master. Him. How are you and Prince Caleb getting along? What's it to you? You shouldn't even be here. They said you were locked up and never coming back. Then they said you spewed your guts from one end of the palace to the other. And now you want to make me clean up your puddles. I'll rub your nose in it first. As I said, she is unimportant. She serves as the excuse I needed to request your company. I have no intention of forcing you to serve her. Well, good. What of Prince Caleb? He sent you here, thinking that I would put you to work. Does he ordinarily give you such tasks? Not really. Keeps me spinning in circles. Wants me out of his way, doesn't want me out of his sight. Doesn't even bother to curse me. Just stares like he'd like to watch me burn. Interesting. Do you know what he was told about your elevation? You think he talks to me? Perhaps not. But neither has he harmed you, correct? Right. That would seem to be something of a change from earlier events. She rubs her neck in reminiscence. Moved by the gesture, I touch my own throat. Nazagi grabbed hold of me without so much as a by your leave, forced me to accept his touch and his plans. He cannot be trusted. He will act in his own best interests, swiftly and without warning if he feels it necessary. And yet he did have a plan. His intent was not to harm. I have no doubt he could have rendered me unconscious, either by Caleb's brutal methods or through use of his pressure point technique. He chose only to silence me, the minimum force required for his goal. Even before, when we surprised each other in his rooms, he struck my arms only to disable a potentially dangerous intruder. As soon as he acknowledged that I was not a threat to him, he released me undamaged. This man's entire demeanor is that of a cold and callous manipulator, a prince of ice. His reputation sends trained soldiers fleeing in terror. Yet I cannot help but feel that I am safer at his side than Dolores is in the company of Prince Caleb. Safety is not affection. I am not fond of Nazagi. I could not say that we are friends. As he said, that requires a good deal more than a smile and some idle chatter. But as I said, it is a decent beginning. In your judgment, has he been forbidden from harming you? I don't know. He never hit me for fun, not like some. Like some what? What happened to her? Threatened me plenty over his precious sister until everything went down here. Now he just stares. Doesn't talk. He knows something, I'd guess, but what it is, I've no clue. Well then, that should be your next avenue of exploration, don't you think? If you find out what instructions he was given and share them with me. Why should I? So far I've done all the talking. What am I getting? You haven't promised me anything. I have no wish to make you foolish promises that I cannot keep. I am a foreigner in this land. My powers to influence the king are limited. Should the truth of matters currently hidden unfold as I imagine it, I will be able to offer you a king's ransom. As long as you are unfolded in my schemes, it is in my best interest to see you rewarded as you deserve. If I should betray you, you would be able to do the same to me. That's not good enough. I want something now. Some proof you aren't playing me. Some payment. A balancing hold is wise. What would you suggest? Could you brew me a poison? Enough to kill a man in one night? What sort of person asks that? I could. His face shows no expression, as if her requests were perfectly normal. But I will not. Quietly, I let out my breath. It is not in my interest to lose control of my own weapons. Well, that makes sense. Something valuable then, not coins. Something I can carry. Jewelry. As it happens, it is not the custom in Asenath to adorn our bodies with precious stones. I own little that you might consider to be jewelry. You're a prince. You must have valuable stuff. Different eyes perceive different values. Perhaps I have something that might interest you. He places a shallow drawer on top of a table, and both Dolores and I lean closer to look inside. There are loose beads, bits of ribbon, and a number of objects carved out of wood or bone. The carvings tend to be rounded and small enough to fit in the palm of a hand. Some depict animals or people, but I cannot tell what most of them are meant to represent. Along with these, there are a number of objects that look like short, smooth sticks, colored and polished to a high shine. Some have beads or crystals at the end. Others are decorated with the shapes of flowers or birds in flight, pressed in gold. If not for those patterns, I would have suspected them to be alchemist wands. But the eye-catching shine of gold against a glossy surface suggests they are ornamental. Nazagi's hand hovers between a black stick patterned with falling leaves and an ivory ball carved in the shape of a dog. To my eye, both items are exotic, but I could not guess what either might be worth. Which would Dolores prefer? A carving is something even she should be able to recognize as an object of art. The stick's purposes are mysterious, but could perhaps be taken for a lover's token. He reaches for the carving. We have a choice. We have a choice, and I don't know which is the right option. I will save this again. So let me see. The options are, wow, this is a long chapter. This is longer than the last one. I'll let him choose the carving that's art, or let him take the lover's token. I don't... Okay. Here, take this as a token of my appreciation. Thanks, I guess. What was the other one gonna have? I set my glass down hard. Without missing a beat, Nazagi changes direction and picks up the stick. Here, take this as a token of my appreciation. Thanks, I guess. Okay, so I don't know that either of them. We'll just let him choose the carving. Now that she's claimed her prize, Dolores appears ill at ease. Was there something else you wanted? Tell me about yourself. Me? You are worthy of interest, don't you think? Where do you come from? You know what my name means. Don't they have orphans in your country? Your parents died then? I suppose. I don't know. Never did. The warden mother said she found me in a blanket, too young to walk. If I had parents, they must have run too fast for her to catch them. The house doesn't take babies. But they took you. Like I said, guess they couldn't give me back. So it was me and the rats and the dogs. Rats? Street rats. What I was when I got older. There's never enough to go around. You take what you can, or you go hungry. It made you stronger. Oui. Doesn't matter now. I'm long gone. That it? As I understand it, there was an incident a few days ago involving an attempt to stage a protest over certain rumors. A young woman who had to be sent home? Oui. Would you happen to remember her name? I try not to remember all their names. It makes them itch to think they're nothing to me. She was nothing important anyway. A little miss from a little house somewhere in Duke Ferod's lands. One last matter of curiosity. Who sponsored you to Palace service? Sponsored? I don't... Some steward came to the house looking for a charity case, and they picked me, that's all. Thought I was lucky. The warden mother looked thrilled to see the back of me. They paid her, too. Have you enjoyed much contact with the royal family while you were in service? The king? I never saw him close before now. Why? Opportunities often arise when one is close to people in positions of power. I wasn't gonna kill him, if that's what you thought. Of course not. That would be unwise. Right. Look, if there's something else you want me to do, just say it. At the moment, I am most interested in discovering what instructions your new master was given regarding your welfare. With that information, I might be able to transfer you to a position that better suits your talents. Learn from Prince Caleb what you can and share it with me. How am I supposed to do that? I believe you are more than capable of finding a way. I see. Well, good day, Lord, Prince. Nazagi. She bobs a little half bow and scuttles out of the room. When she's gone, I let out a deep sigh. I'm sorry that I wasn't much help there. Apparently I'm the last person she wishes to speak to. Maybe I should have stayed in bed. Don't be a fool. He steps into the bedroom and returns with his spectacles. I still need your eyes. What were your impressions? If she's a princess, it's not known to her. She was left at an orphanage in unusual circumstances, though not miraculous ones, and young enough for my theory. I don't see why a charity house would make distinction between infants and children. Infants require a different level of care and feeding. They are also less likely to survive. Perfectly reasonable for a caregiver to specialize in one or the other. So her origin is slightly unusual, and then she was chosen, supposedly at random, for a palace position, but not given any special treatment by the king after that, not until now. Yes, there's not enough information to draw conclusions. Did you notice anything else? And the wiki says to pick this. I believe she finds you attractive, my lord. Oh? Perhaps we are making progress, then. In any case, I doubt she will return until tomorrow. If your stomach is feeling more settled, I will request supper be delivered. Shouldn't you be eating with your peers? As you recall, I am currently forbidden from leaving these rooms. I suspect you could get past that, especially with an escort and a formal event. Perhaps tomorrow. For now, to preserve my fiction, it is better to suggest that you still require my constant attentions. Did he have to phrase it like that? It sounds practically erotic. He seems entirely unaware of the extra layers to his words. Or perhaps he's simply too good at hiding his reactions. Our working relationship is tense enough as it is. I don't want to put either of us more on edge. I let it go. After a late meal, I retired to my room. That is, to Yorick's room, where I can be kept out of the way now that I am no longer suffering the effects of poison. The room itself is still in a certain state of disarray, and here and there is the faint scent of a strange man that lingers. Still, a guest room is a guest room. It is not so different from the ones I shared with Oscar. My poor Oscar. Does he know what's become of me? Would anyone bother to tell him? If he's heard that I was so ill, he'll be terribly worried. If he's heard that I've been removed to the care of the notorious Prince Nazagi, he'll be frantic. Perhaps I should have tried to get Dolores to take a message to him? But she'd never obey me, and I don't trust her. Dolores may have been of royal blood once upon a time, but she is no sweet little princess. Whatever wisdom she possesses, she fought for it tooth and nail. Cunning and tenacity are not such bad traits in a ruler. If Nazagi does claim a throne, he should be well equipped to manage its challenges. Still, clever planning should always be balanced with compassion, shouldn't it? It's a balance I've tried to maintain for myself, never to be blinded by emotion, never to lose touch with my heart. Sometimes Nazagi seems so cold, but under normal circumstances he has Yorick to brighten him. I settle into my borrowed bed, lost in my reflections, and barely notice the approaching footsteps. Until all of a sudden, Prince Nazagi walks into the room and begins to remove his clothing. Well then, what are you doing? Taking off my robe. Yes, I can see that. Why are you taking off your robe in front of me? I normally leave my robes here for Yorick to fold and put away. Either his country has a different standard of modesty, or he forgot that I was here. Can the calculating ice prince truly be so absent-minded? Whatever the answer may be, now that he is exposed, he refuses to flinch or display embarrassment. Once the path is set, he will follow it through. I raise my chin and attempt to muster equal dignity. I will not be afraid to look at what's in front of my eyes. Although he lacks a warrior's muscular definition, Nazagi's form is still appealing, even with the spectacles. Oh my gosh, Madeline, they're glasses. It's not like... Okay. Once the immediate shock has passed, though, I begin to notice further details. His skin, so strangely pale by local standards, is decorated with a variety of faint scars. I am familiar with the appearance of old wounds. Any sword instructor who hasn't been cut at some point in his or her life has not seen enough battle to train princes. These, however, are different. There are clusters of puncture marks at different points, too small for arrows. There are also patterns of raised pink flesh against the smooth expanse of his back and stomach, smooth and circular. Those marks. What leaves a scar in the shape of a perfect circle? It is rather a rude question, but he is rather a rude person. If he insists on displaying his body to me, surely I can be allowed to comment on it. Flame cups. A cup of fire? Placed on the skin. Why would someone do that to you? I did that to myself. It was an experiment. I don't understand. I have tried many methods over the years. Herbs, pins, flames. I have learned many skills, but the cure remains out of my reach. A cure for what? My weakness, the flaw that binds me in these chains. I can only come to my full potential if I am chosen by a princess to hold her wisdom. What woman would ever choose a bespectacled jester as her mate? With these I am a laughingstock. Without them I am half blind and half lost. If I could cure myself and throw these things away forever, or if I could win a bride and dare to wear them openly. He grits his teeth. The spectacles do not look that bad, my lord. I have no use for pleasant lies. Look at me. You can see me clearly now. Am I lying? Yes, I thought they looked quite strange at first, even amusing. But I have grown accustomed to your face. You are not unattractive. You had no choice about associating with me. A princess can turn me away at first glance. In any case, I apologize for disturbing you. I'll be going now. Perhaps Nazagi is not entirely made of ice after all. He can be embarrassed and angry and lonely just like anyone else. But even here, in private, with someone who already knows his secrets, he holds himself in check. He's fought so hard to hide his flaw of poor vision that he's learned to hide everything else as well. Nazagi said earlier that smiles and chatter did not equate to friendship. I wonder if he has anyone in his life that he can call a true friend. Someone he can trust, someone who cares about him, or someone he allows to care about him. It is certainly not depth of feeling that is driving him to pursue the heir of Guelinor. Cassidy or Dolores, it seems to make no difference to him as long as he achieves his ambition. It's not unusual for a man in his position, really. I suppose I only notice it because it's so different from working with my own Prince Oscar. But then he's not really my prince, is it? Is he? Perhaps Nazagi's attitude is the wisest one, after all. But as I drift off to sleep, a thought occurs to me. Could a man like Nazagi really forget that I was in this room? Or is it just maybe possible that he, in his own strange way, was flirting with me? Okay, so we're going to save here. And we're going to go back to the main title. And, wow, that was a long one. That was like 56 minutes. My voice is like, wow. So, obviously, I've talked a lot about a lot of uncomfortable feelings I have about the way that Cassidy and trans women and intersex people have been portrayed in this game. I now have to say, and I was actually thinking about this earlier, Nazagi is the character here who seems most coded to sort of an East Asian style. Obviously, I don't think that this game is meant to be set in real Earth world countries, but Nazagi has, the long silky black hair and the silk clothes, and the style is very what a lot of Westerners would associate with East Asian. And he hits a lot of the stereotypes that Westerns tend to hold. He's very intelligent. He's very calculating. He's cruel and cold in ways that a lot of the other characters are not. He knows special alchemies and medicines and knowledges that aren't available in Madeline's side of the world. He knows exotic, for lack of a better word, pressure point techniques. And while I get that he's obviously intended to be sympathetic, we're obviously intended to like him, those are still kind of they're stereotypes, and stereotypes, even when wielded in nice, sweet, happy, like him kind of ways, can still be really harmful and very othering. I'm actually very sorry that there aren't more East Asian people included in the game to balance out Nazagi, as opposed to, I don't think that would have made it just totally 100% better, but I obviously, variety can be one way to soften stereotypes, like everybody in Azimuth knows alchemy and pressure points and blah, blah, blah. So that was one thing that was sticking with me, that I like Nazagi. I understand why other people like him. I don't fully like how he was written. As a what we would look at as a person of color, as opposed to Madeline and Oscar, who ping more along the white spectrum to me. And then also as a person with a disability, I have a vision disability. It's actually been corrected surgically, but I wore glasses for many years. And I also have a back disability that has resulted in a couple of surgeries and a lot of scars. I have some reservations with how Nazagi has been portrayed in that regard, which is a shame because I would love to see more disabled people in fiction. I do think that it's reasonable for Nazagi to feel like his glasses are hurting him in his social situation. I don't want to make light of, him being like, oh, my horrible secret, I have glasses. When he's competing in a very tight marriage market where the cultural ableism surrounding him, that, oh, he won't make a good mate, means that he could be dismissed at first sight before he's ever been considered. It's a legitimate concern that he has. And so he's been forced to try to pass as an able-bodied person. And he's right. That's hurtful and harmful, and it shouldn't be that way. That part exactly is spot on. And to a certain extent, there is value in Madeline reaffirming that while he's disabled, it doesn't make him horrible or horrifying or hideous. But to another extent, I have wanted to point out, she's talked about without his glasses, he's helpless. No. He's incredibly intelligent. He's managed to work with and around his disability for his entire life. He has a system of signals and trusted helpers. That kind of exaggeration can be very infantilizing of disabled people. And then even like, oh, well, it's not that bad, and everything. It's important to reaffirm that a disability doesn't make someone horrible or hideous or gross, but it's also important to not do it in a way that minimizes it as though it's not even there. Like, you're almost as beautiful as a normal person, Nazagi. Like, that's not quite how you want to affirm people with disabilities. And I'm not saying that Madeline is doing that. It's just something that kind of I noticed. It kind of stuck with me. So I guess another writer's PSA, please definitely do include disabled characters in your fiction. That's great, and I would like to see more of that. But do understand that while we have limitations, our disabilities do not make us helpless, and that sort of hyperbole can even in fact be harmful. And also understand that there's a very great difference between saying, I think you're beautiful, I think you are attractive to look at, I do not mind or am not turned away or disgusted by your glasses or whatever other assistive devices you use. There's a difference between that versus saying, I can hardly even notice it's there. You're almost a normal person. Because the one is telling us that we're beautiful regardless of our assistive device or with our assistive device were beautiful. The other one is kind of like, yeah, you have it, and yeah, that's not great, but it's almost like it's not even there at all. It's sort of subtle and it's kind of hard to explain, but there is, believe me, there's a difference. So anyway, not to say that Madeline is doing that, because I'm not. I'm using that to kind of riff off of a different topic, and not even to say that I don't like Nazagi. I do like him. I will say that if you're trying to flirt with somebody, please do not take off all of your clothes if they haven't consented to seeing you naked. That is, yeah, please don't do that. but I do like him. I am fond of his awkwardness and his adorable arrogance, not all of which is misplaced. And I am liking how he and Madeline work together. I think that's sweet as well. So, wow, that was a long one. That was over an hour. I'm going to go find some food, and I'm going to try to rest my voice, and then I will try to come back and finish 7C, and that should finish off the Nazagi chapter. Thank you so much for listening to all my ramblings. So once again, this was The Royal Trap by Hanako Games. My name is Anna Mardal, and I will see you in the next video.